Okay, good. Technical problems over, hopefully, for the rest of the day. Look at how beautiful this is today down at the River Nairn side. Very cold night last night. I heard I'm a very light sleeper, and I heard my boiler going on at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought, what's going on here? And it's because things had dipped a little lower than it liked, and so on it came. So Nairn last night was probably about minus 14, something like that. I know temperatures, the lowest temperatures were recorded since 1995 up here, according to the chap I follow on Facebook, who lives in Cardbridge, and he's got the Highland Weather Service, which is a super service. It's the only thing I pay for, actually, on Facebook. I give him a little fee for that, £1 a month or something, 12 quid a year. So I've got my daughter Hannah with me here, who's just not going to fall in the river today. But even if she does, I've got my throw line in my bag, as every good leader would have. So you can see how much is frozen around. Yeah, lowest temperature since 1995. I think Carbridge was down at minus 21. Some places were down to minus 25 last night in the Highlands, which is pretty impressive. Very, very cold. And there's something about a cold winter that is actually, to my mind, quite nice. I mean, it can be difficult. You have to adapt the way you live a little bit, put on some extra layers and think carefully about what you're up to at times. Ali wanted to go for a swim this morning in the Moray Firth at about 8 o'clock, and she went down to get into the car, got it defrosted, but the gear stick was solid, stuck solid, so she never managed that. But look at this river, and look at the ice on here, just absolutely beautiful. I'll just zoom into bits of that if I can. Minus 15 in Davitt. Aye, it's cold. It's cold for sure. Anyway, things survive out here, despite the cold. Hopefully, Hannah and I will survive. And I thought today we'd have a wee ramble and look at what's fresh. We saw some robins there just looking around. Everything's looking for food just now, and food means energy and staying warm. But of course, some things won't find food. You know, plants make food in different ways from, or make energy for themselves in different ways from animals. And so they have a different story to tell, I suppose. So I thought what we might do, I'm going to try and head back up the slope. If you see the camera going off at an angle in a minute, you'll realize that I've fallen over. Hang on, here we go. Whoa, I'm back. Yeah, so trees and other plants work in different ways. Look at that lovely big Scots pine there. Let's go over and see it. I'm going to take you to that Scots pine because it's a conifer, and conifers are a wee bit better adapted to this time of year in terms of keeping going than deciduous trees. And there's different reasons for that, I suppose. One is that up in the branches, at the top of this Scots pine, in fact, we can see just a little clump of needles lower down there too. All their leaves are still on the tree. So they are still able to do a little bit of food production. Very little, not very much. In fact, can you see that lovely woodpecker hole there? Let me just home in on that there if I can. Yeah, do you see it there? That lovely woodpecker hole in the middle of the screen near the top, in an old dead bough. So it's a cracker. A woodpecker hole, a nesting hole, is usually just a bit smaller than a tennis ball. So that's up into there. And in a couple of months, woodpeckers will be going around looking for nice big hollow drum-like boughs and beating out their drum message to other females. That's the way the males sing and assert their territory. There's wee puffs of stuff coming out. Oh, just a little. You won't see that in the camera, but a bird must have moved through the top. There's little bits of snow puffing down on us. Beautiful. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Oh, you heard a couple of woodpeckers in the wood yesterday. Brilliant, Caroline. Yeah, that's super. So they are maybe even getting about. So The normal call of a woodpecker, a great spotted woodpecker, is a kind of nyek, 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 nyek. But then the drumming is something quite different. And when they're drumming to show off, it's a loud, resonant drum that goes on for some time. When they're drumming, just tapping up and down trees, listening into the wood to hear where all the beetle grubs are, then it's slightly less noisy, for sure. Yeah, woodpeckers in the bird table are lovely. Thank you for that impression. I do my best. But no, woodpeckers on the bird table are lovely. We used to have what we call the redheads. The babies would come down to our feeder, and they would batter on the window. We call the babies redheads, the youngsters redheads, because they have, as the name suggests, very red heads. But yes, we were talking about surviving the winter. My arm's getting sore holding this up. So I had to bring it down a little bit. We're talking about surviving the winter, and trees produce food through photosynthesis, which is, of course, using chlorophyll in leaves. They get the carbon dioxide from the air. They get water and nutrients pulled up from the roots, and into there, in the leaves, they make solid foods, carbohydrates, which are essentially sugars, and that's fed down through the rest of the tree. But there's some problems for deciduous trees, and deciduous trees often just have to shed their leaves. Here's one just beside me. Let's see if we can see this one. I'll just hold that. Where's the camera lens? Oh, it's about there. Is that going to home in that one? Yeah, just about. So we've got a nice ash bud there. So the ash trees just all drop and all the deciduous trees drop their leaves in winter, in autumn, and pack up shop. But these guys, these big guys, like they can be small as well. These guys, like the Scots pine here, keep the leaves. The leaves are thinner, they're waxy, they don't lose so much water, and they can keep producing a tiny wee amount of energy using sunlight energy and getting water up from the roots. And they've got some sort of antifreeze potential in them too. It's like, I was saying proteins there because they are proteins that help to keep them the cells free. But there's other ways of surviving. We'll talk more about trees and surviving that in a minute. But if I can come in here and look at the bark of this Scots pine tree. Pinus sylvestris, meaning woodland. Let's just see if we can get a nice wee shot up the bark there. Yeah, maybe still in zoom. Let me see if we can pull that out. I am better. So this bark as well helps to protect them in many ways in the winter. Plated bark, a thicker bark, it's helping to manage things underneath a bit better. So it's like our skin, keeping stuff out. And then the phloem and the xylem inside, these tubes, the phloem taking the foods and the sugars down through the tree, the xylem bringing the water and the nutrients up through, all that happening. Pretty interesting. But yeah, it's a pretty good bark on the Scots pine, fairly fireproof, and helps to retain a lot of water as well. I'm going to put my arm down for a minute because it hurts, and come this way. So let's wander this way, Hannah. In fact, maybe I could give this to you. How's your hands are a bit? Maybe you could brush your hands off so they don't get too. Cameron doesn't get too messy. So there are some green leaves about. There's some bramble down here. Some things can find some food, and it's important that certain things produce late flowering things too. We talk maybe about mistletoe and stuff like that. Ivy's producing late flowers for late flying moths, blah, blah, blah. So there's things that do want to survive out at this time of year. I love this wee route down here. What we're looking at in front of us are lots of big larch trees all the way along. And they're what we would call deciduous conifers. So they have the little cones, but they do very much look like Christmas trees, but they drop all the needles in the autumn, preparing for winter. Got some field fares were just flying over there, singing through. That was quite interesting. Heard some redwings too, and I've got some people coming, so I'm going to have to move to the side in a wee minute. How's your gloves, Hannah? Good? Yeah. Excellent. Well done. Remember not to touch the top there, so hold the bottom bit here. hold it where my hand is here. Doesn't matter on that side. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, just what did we do? Cancel. Hit cancel. Sorry. So if we look on here, we've got an elder tree here, and the elder is pretty cool. There are some wee shoots just coming out on this. Can you see? Well, there's a bud there, but there are some greeny bits coming on it now too. There looks like a little bit of growth happening. Oh, we've also got stuff here. Look, this isn't from the. It's frozen.
Yeah.
Oh. We'll see. No, it's not frozen. Still going. All right, let me just look here. So we've got this here, and now this isn't. Could you press your finger on where that pine cone is there? Oh, that'll put it in focus. In fact, I'll give you the camera back, Hannah.
I'll take one of my gloves off.
Okay. We're just we've got some technical issues at the moment. So you can take that. Yeah, cool. And we'll have a wee look at this. Come in close to this one. This here. There, cool. And yeah, we can see that. We keep that really nice and still. So sometimes what you do is, again, you can find things just lying around, caught up in the branches. This is a lovely larch cone that's fallen down from the trees. And that's, of course, the woody fruit of that tree. But the larch just gets rid of all of its needles through at this time of year, and it basically hibernates up. And it's quite interesting because conifer trees like larch and Scots pine that we looked at a minute ago, they have a sort of different way of working. They've got these the potential to stop things freezing up for them. So they have what we call ice nucleators. Now, there's a phrase you don't hear very often, but these ice nucleators are proteins inside that actually, they're inside the tree, but they're outside a lot of the cell walls, and they help to pull the water out of cell walls and draw them to them. And what that means is, if the cells themselves have less water in them, then that means there's less to freeze inside that cell, and the cell also becomes a lot stickier and harder. Sometimes it goes almost glass-like, and it stops the cell from freezing up. Frost is a pretty destructive thing as well. It has got lots of sharp edges, these crystals of frost, and they can tear open cell walls quite easily. So a lot of these conifers manage to do this kind of survival through winter very much by some adaptations. So ice nucleators, yeah, pretty cool things. Right, let's wander a wee bit. We'll leave this elder for now and take a wander further up. See what we can find. You good? Mm-hmm. Wander just for a little more. Try not to film people too much. Probably don't want filmed.
Yeah,
so I'm going to blow my nose. Cool. Yeah. Now, I haven't done my run yet today, but I'll go out after this for a wee 4 or 5 and see how it is. We thought we would also, so lots of the bark of a lot of these trees here. So look at the bark on this, Hannah. Cool. You in there? Nice bark. So this is the bark of the larch tree. We're looking at the cone a second ago, and it's deeply fissured. And there's some green lichens growing around the outside of these bits here as well. And if you come around this side, Hannah, come around this side. Look how much more green is growing on this side. Lots more.
So shadow.
Yeah, but if you aim it, if you tilt it and aim it, yeah, well done. So you can look up into some of that. Lots more moss and greenery growing on that side. So some people will work their way through places, being able to know what's what, which trees which, or rather which way is south, which way is north, depending on how much sunlight's coming in. More greenery on this side. It's a south-facing side, so there's a little more green coloration up these lovely larch trees. All right, let's wander this way. So, used to be a swing there, yeah. I'm glad there's not, because I need you to help me here. Yes, bark. So bark protects the trees. there's some lovely things you can do with bark, actually. Hannah, could you get stuff out in the back of my rucksack while I'm standing here? So there's some lovely things you can do in terms of taking a record of some trees. And Hannah's just looking some stuff out just now, which is cool. She's got that. Brilliant. And bark rubbings are great fun to do. We've actually got a sycamore here just now. So let's see what this sycamore, how this bark looks once it's had some rubbing carried out on it. Let's get that all sorted. Hannah's just getting into it just now, but you can see the sycamore. It's a very smooth grey bark at the moment. It has, that's going to slide off and down the slope, I think, Hannah. Good. It's got some lichens on it. It's interesting because certain trees will have smooth bark. Usually a lot of young trees have smoother barks, and as they grow, the bark cracks open, wears with age, opens out, and different things can enjoy living on that at different times or ages of the tree. What you can do, which is great fun, I'm sure you all remember it from times past, is you can take a record of that. You can take a record of that bark by rubbing on it with these are just pastels. There we go, that's interesting. It actually even looks like a kind of lichen on it. And it's really lovely to get a record of different bark species. And you know, there's so much arty things can be done with this. This is something we've been looking at in the homeschooling. I'm just going to let that person into the waiting room. There we go. There's so much can be done with things like this in an artistic sense. You hold on to that one, Hannah, and we'll have a go at another one in a minute. Okay. Let's wander a little further. So the River Nairn, you can hear beside us, 36 miles from up in the hills in the Mona Lea Mountains down to here. It's had a very cold course to travel today for sure. And lots of iced patches on top of it. So surviving out here in this kind of weather is really, really very tricky. And many things are getting right underneath, they're kind of burying down. You know, any invertebrate life will be hidden well away. And interestingly, we talked about the bark of some trees. The trees kind of repel the water out on the outer edges of the cells, and they push it out onto the bark. And that bark can create a cell wall that then, when it solidifies, it gives off some energy. And that energy gives off a little heat, and it actually pays back into the tree. Isn't it interesting? So a solid ice outer actually can act as an insulator. Strange how things work, isn't it? Counterintuitive in many ways. Now, I'm starting to hear, I've got my little helper here who's now got a camel face. We're moving into what I call rookland, because there's a lovely rookery just here. And I'm hoping as I get closer, you'll start to maybe hear them yourself. Rooks are one of my favourite birds. Oh, the crow family, I just love the crow family. I've got favourites amongst them. To be honest, magpies are down near the bottom. I do like hoodie crows. I love ravens. Jays are cool. Jays are really cool. And rooks are right up there as well. Don't know why I've got that negativity about magpies. They're just like, oh, I don't know where that came from. Little robin singing there. I'll go quiet for a minute and you'll hear the rooks maybe. You can maybe just hear them in the background, depending on what you're listening to this on. The camera might be picking, the microphone in my camera might be picking up some of that. Yeah, the robin song is lovely. Slightly different song this time of year than its summer song, but it's such a beautiful song. I often think of it myself as like a little babbling brook, a little stream rolling down. Such a lovely song. So yeah, we're just coming to a bend in the river and some more trees. So we try another. We'll try another tree. I'm looking for trees that would be easy to do. And oh, do you want to do this one then? Okay, let's try it. That's going to be a challenge, isn't it? So what have we got here, Hannah? We've already had a look at this one today, haven't we? Do you remember it? No. This is an elder. Looking pretty cool. Sambucus nigra. And that is a really nice bark. Rubbing. Oh, I can hear some of the pit family moving around as well. Probably hear the rooks better as well. Cool. That's nice, isn't it?
Mm.
Brilliant. All right. So that's the elder. Pop that back in your bag if you can. We can make use of these later. Oh, you use the other side. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can. Yeah. we can look at these. Maybe use these for schoolwork later. Sorry.
Put this in the bag?
Yes, you can put it in my bag. Yeah, that's fine. Or you could put it in that folder. Would be better even. Yeah, put it in that wee folder. Yes, elder is vaguely poisonous, as you say, Rory. Lots of folklore. Yes, in answer to the pastels, you can. I was actually raking around for wax crayons today, which is usually the ideal thing to use. But you can use any colouring pencil. It's nice to have quite a big and or soft kind of medium. But you could use charcoal. You could use charcoal from the fire, even if you wanted to, or wax crayons, pastels. Listen to those guys. Lovely. Let me just go up into the trees. That's where they are at the moment, the rooks. Some of them. Lovely. A real winter's day sound. So we've taken back rubbings of a couple of trees, sycamore and elder. Let's wander past and see what's happening in some of these other areas here. This is an old lime tree. Yeah, so if you look at this lime tree, sometimes things are easier to see in winter than summer. But yes, we've got a lime tree here, which has these wonderful little buds. Let me see if we can get close into the bud there. It's very difficult to focus in on it. To hold it in my hand a little might work better. So they've got these kind of slightly lopsided lilac-y coloured buds that are starting to swell a little bit. But you can always tell a lime tree when you look at the base. It's got a kind of hairy base round about it. So it's got all these little twigs pushing out from the bottom of it, and yeah, looking, as I say, quite hairy round about it. Now, some of these trees have got big holes like this in it here. Look at this one. Wow, look up in there. So we can actually, you can almost hear an echo up into that tree. Hello. Hey, hello. Is there anybody in there? I don't think so. But there may be a few things in there rather than a few anybodies. You can actually see where that's worn away. See that big lump there? How the bark starts to move round and heel it over. It's a bit like a scab. You know, this is also scabbed edges around here, like we would have in an area that tries to heal. But the heartwood of this bottom part of the tree has disappeared. It's rotted away. It's been munched up probably by some fungal things. But the phloem and xylem are outside that, so they're still doing that job. And when we look up into this tree, it's a healthy enough tree. It's growing just fine. Growing just fine. Cool. Let's wander a wee bit. There's the riverside again, right down beside it. Some nice slow moving. Pull into the side here, Hannah, for a minute. Some nice slow moving water there in this stretch. The hole in the tree could be caused by a lot of things. Fungal attack, you know, certain fungi eating out the heartwood of the tree is one of the commonest ways for that to happen, and it just rots away. So yeah, that water just slowly coming down. You can see all the wee bits of ice on it just now. I can, maybe you can't, but hopefully you can. Just flowing down through past us here. Let's keep wandering on this way. So the days are just starting to get that bit longer now, and the sun's staying up for a wee while longer. Living up in the Highlands, of course, it's always a bit of a, whew, you know, winter is short days, but once we get into February, it starts to really start galloping. The last 2 weeks of February, the days start to really spread. And you know, I never really want to try and wish my days away, but I'm ready for a wee bit of spring, to be fair. I am ready for a wee bit of spring. Now, Hannah, where's Hannah? Oh, I'm just going to look at the underside of this first if I can. Yeah, this is a silver fir tree. It's absolutely beautiful. Can you hold on to the end of that now, Hannah? Just hold it down, keep it down, not that, hold the very tip. That'll be the strongest bit of it. Let's keep it down for me. You got it? Excellent. So you can see on here, where we're holding this, the snow is sitting on top of this, but a lot of these conifers are built to shed snow off them. So you can imagine a deciduous tree like the one behind here. It's just sort of fairly upright and all the branches are up, angled up the way. But on a conifer tree, they tend to slope downwards and the snow can shed off quite easily. So you can see how it just pulls off there quite simply with gravity. I actually really quite like the needles of the silver fir. There's loads of different firs. Actually, I'm just trying to pick a needle off. There's a kind of, I don't know. Here's one here. I'm going to just have a wee chew of this needle. To me, the needle, quite a strong one. Do you want to try it, Hannah? You try. You can let it go now, Hannah, but not what? Yeah, let it go now, Hannah. Let it go. Yeah, good. Try that. So these little needles, allegedly you're allowed to poison your own children. I think that's acceptable. So I think you're allowed to do that. But sorry, I missed that question. I was laughing with people passing by. So what does it taste like? What's it like as a tea? Yeah. Well, what flavour do you get out of that, Hannah? What flavours do you get?
Not a bitter, but not a sour at the same time. It's like in between.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what flavour though.
Oh, it's quite a mega kind of
strong. It's very strong.
Strong, off citrusy. Oh, it's difficult to describe, but I'll tell you what, I like them. And yes, you can use them in a wee decoction. You can use them in a cup of tea and try that out. I can tell Hannah's now wanting to pull more snow down off this, but she's too short to do it. One of her main things that she likes to try and do is get it on other people. You know what it's like. These are the things you get away with when you're only 1 meter high, or whatever she is. 1.2, something like that. Maybe 1.5 now. They grow like weeds, children. There you go. That's called karma. She got some down her own back. Let's wander out. It's opening up into fields here just in front of us. You know, bark on different things is interesting. We're not seeing many, we don't see many silver birch here, but we talked earlier about the bark of the Scots pine tree offering itself a good sort of coat, a thick coat, good fire protection, etc., etc. If you think of silver birch are often very silvery coloured. The bark is a lovely silver colour, and in actual fact, that helps to get rid of, diffuse and knock back a lot of UV light, and it stops them drying out and burning, if you wish, so easily. So again, if we think about it, going back to why deciduous trees drop their leaves, is because these deciduous trees, those big leaves on them are like washing in a line. If that, washing is hung on a line so that it dries out. But if they're all hanging up in a tree in the winter and the sun shines like it is today, then, and also the roots are underground and the ground's frozen, then the tree will not be able to get water up, but it'll also be losing more water out of its leaves than it'll be gaining out of the ground. So that's why they've got to get rid of them. They'll actually die of thirst. And of course, therefore, silver birch trees have this whitish silver bark, and it helps to bounce the UV rays away a bit. Quite incredible. Got lovely. Oh, there's a wee tree creeper. I don't know if we can see it. I'll try and zoom it. Oh, my hand's in that one. Try and zoom in there. He's just gone up under that bit. He's up in. See him just. He's just hiding in and out the branches higher up. Just moving around. I'll try and get him right in the centre of the shot at the moment. Lovely little tree creepers. Beautiful birds. They've got toes a bit like a woodpecker again. Some going forward and one big one going backwards. So they're brilliant at climbing. And yes, the wee blob moving around really. That was a tree creeper. There's still one there, just moving around at the moment on the underside of that branch. Coming, see him? There he is. There's a wee blob. There, coming to the edge, the right-hand edge, and flew up. The little tree creeper, still there on the underside of the next branch. So that's how they make a living. They creep around trees, up and down the trees. They've got a little kind of forceps-like, slightly curved bill that they can prise open bits of bark and find invertebrate life under and munch them up. And then he flew off. Beautiful. What a gorgeous day to be out. I'm so glad this was my week and not yours, really. This is just perfect. So yeah, the sun's shining. Things will start to change and be growing a little bit. Now, I've got something in my pocket here as well that I brought along because I just saw it in the fridge the other day and it made me think. I'll hold it in front of the camera and see if you can read it as well. Can you read that? I don't know. Cedrus atlantica glauca from Kilravach, October 2020. I'll turn it over and you'll maybe see what it is. It's actually seeds. So it's seeds. I'll open this out a wee bit. It's seeds of a blue cedar from Kilravach estate. And you don't often see the seeds of these so readily because cedar trees, along with some others, have got cones that stay on the tree, lovely upright cones that actually disintegrate on the tree and the seeds fall off and get blown by the wind from there. So you never really see a cedar cone lying in the ground as such. They disintegrate higher up. But once they go in the ground, they actually need, a lot of trees and plants need that dormancy break, that very, very cold dormancy break in order to germinate. What did you put up there, really? It's pronounced Kilravach, not Kilrock, in case that's what you just said. Well, it wasn't you. Well, look, let me just say a story about Kilrock or Kilravach. Let me say a story about Kilravach, because I always called Kilravach Kilrock until one day I was out with a friend who runs, and we're running along, and I was telling him I was down at Kilrock looking at blah, 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 the trees, because there's some lovely, lovely trees in Kilrock, or Kilravach. And we were chatting away, and I was saying, oh, there's one of the biggest Sitka spruce in Europe there, and there's a beautiful Spanish chestnut, and so on and so forth. And he said to me after a while, he says, it's Kilravach. And I went, no, I think it's Kilrock. And he went, well, my dad was the maintenance man there for 15 years, and I lived there with him. And we all called it Kilravach. So there you go. That's from a guy who lived and worked there. He says, it's mostly just folk that come into the area that call it Kilrock. And I thought, okay, from here on in, I'll call it what the locals call it. And that is Kilravach. Long story short. Nice bark here. Oh, Hannah, we should do a thing of this. These are cherries. Can you see the cherry? You got your bark stuff? You can get it out of my bag. Yeah. So there's some lovely cherries here. Lovely cherries around this stretch of the Nairn. A lot of the Nairnside trees are alder. We haven't really looked at alder yet, but there are a lot of alder. But on this stretch, you can outvote me all you like, but I've talked to the horse's mouth, and they told me the truth. So I'm going with Kilravach, right? I'll send you some. I'll get some proof the next time. It's a bit like Straven and Strathaven and all the rest. It does make sense, but I'm afraid it's not the way it is. So here we have a cherry. Not getting the best of the cherry there, are you? Not the best bit. So the cherry often has these lovely little lines running across the way. I think you can see them on that. Sorry, I'm just in the sunshine here. So I'm trying to get the best angle. Rowan and Rowan. Rowan. I'm missing out big time on this this chat room because I can't keep up with it. But
my suggestion was that both pronunciations might be correct. Same as you can say Rowan tree or Rowan tree, and both pronunciations are accurate depending on who you are and where you are.
Well, obviously Rowan's not correct because it's Rowan. But I hear what you're saying.
I'm being diplomatic.
Yeah, I think diplomacy is a good way forward with this one. But if you want to be like a local here, it's Kilravach. And I was educated about that. So I'm just trying to pass that on. But you can say what you like. Well, no bother me. See if I care. Do I look bothered? Look at the lichen on here. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, at different times of a plant's life or a tree's life, as we talked about the bark, some barks can be quite acidic as well, and certain lichens will grow better on them. It's a lot about adaptations. We can see some crustose lichens here. I'm going to point out to crustose, that bit there. There's a crustosy bit in there. And then you get more foliose bits. Here we go, we've got foliose lichens here. Lots of different species. There's mosses down here as well, of course. A lot of moss in amongst that. But at different trees will have more acidic bark than others. Some will have crevices and the ability to let some lichens grow more easily than others. And I think this is rather a lovely bark of a cherry here just now. You can see those lovely lines across it. Did you get a good one in the end, Hannah? No? Not bad. Let's see it. Okay. Oh, that was the. So what was that one? That's the cherry, wasn't it?
No, yeah, this bit there.
The one you just did.
Cherry. Yeah.
Okay. What was that? Oh, that was the elder, wasn't it? What's on the other side? Do you remember? What was that first one we did?
That was the.
Every day's a school day, and I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
This is one of my pupils, as I homeschool.
That was the.
That would be.
Tree?
Type of maple.
Maple tree.
Begins with a C.
Oh, sycamore.
Sycamore. Full points to Hannah. She's back on the leaderboard. Well done. How are we doing for time, Rudy? I've lost track of where I am now. Just checking. Oh, 2:15, 15 minutes. Did you want to do some stuff, Rudy? They look quite different on the edge or out on their own. And again, going back to that idea of birch trees and silvery bark, they are known to be sort of pioneers in getting out into places again because they can take more full-on sunlight round about them. So we're almost at the end of our time. We're at 1:23. We've got 5 or 6 minutes. We'll wander on. We're just moving out into the open ground here. One of the things you can see down in here, lots and lots of. We talked about shelter. Oh, we've got a couple of dunnocks. There's a wee dunnock in there. I don't know if you can see him flittering through the branches. Maybe, maybe not. Home into that wee bit there. He is flittering about just in the back of that. But yeah, having bits of ground where there's lots of materials, wood materials just left and piled up. You can call them habitat piles. Some people call them wren stacks, different things. And they help to offer shelter. And as it builds up, it keeps a bit of heat in with it. Insects will go in, and little birds like dunnocks and wren and various will go in and look for that food themselves. So those are useful, nice things to have in a woodland. Woodlands that are too tidy, you know, that people have spent too much time cleaning up and burning away or whatever, all the cuttings, are never quite as healthy. Got a great tit singing there, teacher, teacher, teacher. I heard you talking about schools there a minute ago as well, Rory. Yeah, it'll be nice to get them back to school, right enough, though. Hannah's giving me that look. I think she quite likes being off. She did say to me before we started this second round of lockdown, "You're quite a good teacher, you know, Dad. You're quite a good teacher." I think she was trying to preempt the my usual wrath. I'm a hard teacher. Me. Look at the size and grace of that big sycamore in there as well. I mean, sycamores are being brought into this country. First ones came in about 400 odd years ago or so, but they are such good big survivors. I like them. The wood burns pretty well as well. So there we have it. Lots and lots of beautiful looking trees, blue skies, snow, sunny landscapes. It's just quite incredible. We saw a really interesting thing down the beach this morning in Nairn, where the top 2 inches of sand had frozen solid almost. And then the salt water must have got in and opened up a kind of an edge to it from the sea coming in as the tide was coming in, and then went underneath it. So the sand had basically delaminated, and you could walk on this sand like a big bouncy, you know, castle type thing, and jump on it, and little geysers of spray would come spurting out from bits. Quite incredible. Frozen, delaminating sand. And then in front of us here, as we walk in, just as we get to close, come back to more open space, you can see typical wee conifer, and in this case a pine again, coming into a more amenity planted area. Quite a lot of the Nairn side it feels quite natural, but a lot of this has been planted out, and you'll find not just Scots pine, but you'll also find things like Corsican pine as well, different types of pine. You see the length of the needles on these are quite long needles. I think this is Corsican, to be honest. So quite interesting. Pine trees have the needles in bundles, and this, I'm just picking what, but yeah, these are bundles of 2 on this. You can just see bundles of 2, same as Scots pine, but these needles are way too long for Scotties. So yeah, sometimes tree identification in urban landscapes can be a wee bit more tricky. It does, you can get thrown by lots of things and suddenly realise that you're looking at something that actually belongs to Spain or Eastern Europe. But what a gorgeous landscape today to enjoy seeing all these things around. I can hear a little blue tit up in the tree up in here. Lots of tit family moving around higher up today looking for food. Anyway, I think we're practically done. I'm going to let you good folk get on. It's 2:28, and it's been lovely to be with you. Here's Chief. Oh, there she is. Yeah, thumbs up.